Under Biden, Americans' cost of living skyrocketed. Food, housing, auto insurance. Lawsuit abuse is a big reason everything's more expensive today. Frivolous lawsuits cost working Americans over $4,000 a year in hidden taxes. President Trump understands the problem. That's why he supports loser pays legislation to stop lawsuit abuse and put thousands back in the pockets of hardworking Americans. It's time to make America affordable again. It's time to support the president's plan.
Temple Dendo.
Oh, don't know about that.
What aren't you sure?
Well, I just don't see how you can compete with a temple. I mean, whatever you put there is going to look fake.
There's very little that we can do.
This is just going to look like a Chinese restaurant.
Hey guys, and welcome to another new episode of Hollywood Gold. I'm your host, Daniela Taplin Lundberg, and I'm here with Vanessa Mendel. How are you, babe?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm super excited because we're about to bring another family member into the pod circle. We're about to interview my sister, Sylvana Ward Durrett, about her producing her first and only film, First Monday in May.
I love when family members join the pod. It's the best. It's the best.
She's pretty hungover in this episode, but we managed to get through it and get some good goss. She was Anna Wintour's assistant for many years and then was elevated to run the Met Ball for 8 or 9 years. So I managed to squeeze on in there for several years in a row, which was so fun. And they eventually went on to do a major documentary behind the scenes sort of, feature about the whole process. So she's heavily featured in it. She gave us the whole scoop, and we learn a little bit about Anna Wintour and, the way these things come to be. And it's so fun, and I love her so much, and I'm so happy she did this. So let's get going.
Let's do it.
Sylvana Ward Durrett, esteemed producer of First Monday in May, your one and only producing credit.
Correct.
Also my sissy, my little sissy. So much younger than me. That is true. That is true. You're 5 years younger than me.
Even though everyone thinks I'm older, which is great.
That's just because you're taller and skinnier.
I know, but my whole life. And now it's not so great anymore.
I know. So today we're going to talk about the First Monday in May, which was a little bit of a labor of love. I remember it taking a lot of time during the years that you were head of special events at Vogue magazine, right hand to Miss Anna Wintour.
Yep, that's correct.
So you guys concocted this notion to sort of take people behind the scenes of the Met Ball, which is the greatest party in the world, and you kind of put it on your back. And so really, I just want to hear tales of Rihanna, but let's talk about the actual process of the movie. And then we'll get into tales of Rihanna. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So tell me how the idea came to you guys and where it started, and we'll go from there.
We had thought about this for a while, and Anna had been thinking about something like this. She had been thinking about a lot of things around Vogue in general, and it came out in 2016. So it was shot in 2015, 14, 15. And, we were at the time going through this massive transition as a magazine online, right? It was the publishing world was really
imploding,
changing, right? It was going from print to online. And so, Condé Nast was sort of trying to catch up because they had so many titles, obviously, and they were trying to figure out how to monetize content they hadn't been doing before, right? The only way their advertising ad dollars were really the number one source of revenue. And so we, for about since, when was it? Probably 2011, maybe 2010, we really started thinking about digital experiences for the magazine. So we did all these digital channel. We had a digital channel. We had this thing called Condé Nast Entertainment. We had a whole media wing. And we did a bunch of shows. We did these very short form, kind of fun YouTube type shows, kind of before its time. And I think kind of found what worked and what didn't. So documentaries was sort of under that umbrella of CNE, what were the things that we could do to bring kind of the magazine to life? And that's always been Anna's sort of mission. Like, how do you bring the magazine to life? How do you take it from the pages of the magazine to like, to this reader?
Always on the cutting edge. Totally.
Yeah. And so, this was kind of a concept that came together because China Through the Looking Glass was coming up, and we knew it was going to be this massive exhibition.
Like the biggest ever kind of thing?
Yeah. And this was, after McQueen, we talk a lot about that in the film, but the McQueen exhibition was such a massive success. And we really knew that China was going to be of the same caliber. And it sort of made sense for us to kind of think about another way of realizing it and making it bigger.
So like Alexander McQueen, loyal listeners, was like the most successful costume exhibition to date, right? Like it was massive, and
China, although surpassed it, is the real claim to fame.
And so you guys were trying to like kind of not trumpet, but like kind of like raise the bar again.
Yeah, that was the real, to your point, that was the bar. The bar had been set and we wanted to raise the bar. And so it was the right topic. It was the right sort of magnitude. And it had this sort of global appeal as well, obviously. And so we decided we would do it. And, that was sort of that.
When you say that, did the Condé Nast pay for it? Like, who ended up paying for this documentary? Because like, as we know, they're not cheap, and they actually, you guys seem to film over like the period of over a year, it seemed. And so that, who fronted the bill for that? Because it wasn't like you guys had distribution, right?
Magnolia distributed it.
But like, did you have that deal in place?
No,
beforehand?
that was after.
Right. You were like an independent kind of. You were going to go make this.
Yeah, we were an independent. We had we raised money. So we went to China. I went to China like 3 times between 2013 and 15. And we got a lot of investors sort of from our trips to China. Obviously, there's like a lot of people who were very interested in this, in having that exposure, particularly in China. And so like we raised money. And
how many investors did you end up getting the production?
I don't even remember how many. A lot. Okay. Suffice to say, a lot. And, some bigger than others, obviously. I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think that part of the fundraise for that exhibition was also sort of like, it was a 2-piece, like this for the exhibition, this for the film, et cetera. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys, and do you remember what the budget was? Like, were you a part of that at all?
Yes, I do. I'm wondering if I'm allowed to say. I think it was like $1 million.
I think it was something like that. It's published. Yeah. So I'm just going to look at, yeah.
It was $1 million, I think.
And the whole premise was like all access, right? It was meant to like lift the curtain of like the process of getting this like tremendous party and exhibition up and running. And so everyone involved kind of had to be like, okay, we're going to allow people into this, right?
Yes. And that was a real tension the whole time, because the whole sort of allure and kind of aspirational nature of the gala is that like not everyone can go, right? It's like invitation only, and like nobody sees what happens in the room, and everyone wants to know, and there's all this like red carpet stuff, but you never see inside the gala, and that's really like what's behind the curtain. And so this was really meant to be your sort of ticket into the gala. Although even then we wanted to still, like, Anna was still very much of the mindset that she didn't want to show too much or share too much, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it was really meant to be like this experience, like having the experience of going to the gala.
But was Anna sort of leading the charge? Was she like, yeah, this is going to be a thing. I'm going to be on camera. I'm going to like sort of not expose myself, but be open, and that'll make Baz Luhrmann feel comfortable, and Wong Kar-wai and all these other people who obviously showed up feel good.
Anna she's so like, obviously she's so seasoned. She's been in front of the camera a lot. Like, she's just easy. But she's very aware, right? She knows when she's on, and she knows what message she wants to get across. And, while some of us, like myself included, kind of forgot at times, and like about, what was his name? I
just watched it. Who?
Not Tatum Chading.
Channing Tatum.
What's his name?
Channing Tatum.
You guys, I'm hungover. Can you edit over that?
We'll edit over part of it.
His name was like Josh something. But I was like, what has he done lately? Nothing.
Josh Hartnett.
Like, who am I? Like, what have I done lately?
By the way, he's come back. He's come back. He's really like, he's back in the news. I don't know if he's going to listen to this. I wouldn't worry too much, but still, that was sort of like the beauty of it, because you were sort of like first of all, the comic relief, and you were so kind of real. And it did seem like you kind of forgot the cameras were there sometimes because they were just constantly rolling, right? Like, was that the case?
During certain periods, yes. Like there was shoot days, right? And so like there would just be days, they would sort of look at our schedule. So like the road that year before, it took a year to shoot. The year before there was like all these, like we went to China, like there were like this is the China trip. It's like the meetings that you have, it takes a year to produce any gala, right? And so, it's the first, like there's a timeline and there's a lot of preset meetings. And so on those meeting dates, we would be shot, and it was like all, around the clock. And so, yeah, they would just follow us.
So, Sil, who comes up with like the notion of each year's theme? Because they seem so ornate and kind of not obvious. Like there's always some sort of like twist on something that could very easily just be like a very simple concept. And it always feels like very multifaceted and layered. And I never know how you guys pull that off. But like, where is that brainstorming session happening?
It's the genius of Andrew Bolton. I mean, he really is such a genius, such a wonderful human. He's so well read. He's incredibly creative, and he can be very commercial too. And I think Anna and him work together really well. Anna kind of brings in that sort of like, okay, how do we market this? How do we make this more commercial? How do we make this, something that people will want to see? But it really comes from his, and he has like a treasure trove of like ideas, like so many ideas. Some of it, some of them are thought about way ahead of time. Like China was like a 5-year in the making. He's always wanted to do the show. And some of it has to do with the sponsors. It just sort of depends. Obviously, I've been away from it for, at least 8 years now. So,
yeah.
But a lot of the time, they plan who's paying for these things, who the sponsor is, if it's Gucci, if it's whomever it is, if it's Facebook or Meta, then it's like they kind of want to tie it in so it makes sense.
Right. Thematically. So like if Meta's doing it, then maybe technology has an element of the like
when Apple did it, there was very much this like sort of digital AI type. Manus Ex Machina was the one that Apple did.
Okay. So that's super interesting that like you have to consider who the sponsors are, and do you know who those people are years in advance?
Yeah. I would assume, and certainly it was this way when I was there, it was like 3 years ahead. We knew who the sponsors were, like, because everyone wants to sponsor that night. Right. And that exhibition. So there's kind of like a waiting list. And so Anna really thinks about like with Andrew, like who makes sense for what. And that's sort of how it comes to be. And sometimes it's the other way. Like sometimes the sponsor comes out of the theme.
Okay, so let's say Apple wants to sponsor a year, or Meta wants to sponsor a year, or Gucci wants to sponsor a year. It doesn't seem to me that it's a branded event. And coming out of like a year, I'm not going to suddenly go buy more Apple products. Like, what is the benefit to them to sponsor? Is it just prestige and getting in the room with like the most elite people in the world? Is it that kind of thing, or what is the lure?
It's prestige. It's, Anna always says it's brand alignment, right? It's so important to be aligned with the right partners, and the reach is, and like the reach of the gala is enormous on that night. And has gotten way bigger with kind of just, the social media and everything. Like there's a real red carpet now, like ease on the red carpet. And, like they've made it kind of like the Oscars, which they've always called it kind of the Oscars of the East, because everyone goes. And so the appeal is just having that many important people under one roof on one night, the press they got out of it, the market, like it's just exponential. It's massive. And I don't think it's like to sell more, Apple watches. It's just for that kind of brand alignment, like elevation, aspirational, lifestyle that they want to be a part of. And the reach, it's incredible, the reach.
So once they sign on, do they have a say over the content that Andrew is putting together?
No.
That's part of the deal.
Yep.
You just have to trust that it's going to be elegant and it's going to be, innovative and all these things.
Yeah, no, he has like curatorial sort of power over whatever. I mean, that has to kind of, there has to be a divide between church and state there.
Although I noticed in the doc that he was sort of navigating like political waters, not only like with the Chinese imagery, but also within the museum for the head of the other sort of Asian art division, it seemed.
There's a tension because the gala is such a mega fundraiser for the museum. It's, certainly raises more than any other exhibition or gala that they host. And so I think it's tough when you're, a curator of another department and, you kind of have to bend over backwards for this gala. And it's sort of an unspoken truth now. Like it is what it is. And I think that can rub a lot of people in the museum the wrong way.
So do you get the sense that people within the museum resent the Costume Institute's reach and like the sort of razzle dazzle of it?
I'm sure there are. I mean, it's not, I think, yes, I think there's definitely tensions. I think, the museum has its own brand and it has its own kind of like bar that they've set. And so there's tension between when we're doing the gala, when we're producing the gala and the museum, right? Anna is sort of like, let's like push all the boundaries. Let's make this better than the last. And that is tough on budgets. It's tough on, the actual footprint of the museum. Like all of those things come into play. But at the end of the day, Anna usually gets her way. We have Dave Franco. And then who's the other one you were saying? Josh Hartnett. What has he done lately? Nothing. You guys are set. You have great carpet material right now.
Hey, this is Jonathan Fields, host of the Good Life Project podcast. Boost Mobile reminds me of what I love, when someone reimagines what's possible. They have invested billions in building America's newest 5G network, becoming the country's fourth major carrier. They are doing things differently, offering a $25 monthly unlimited plan that never increases in price and letting you try their service risk-free for 30 days. With blazing fast 5G and plans for all the latest devices, they're changing the game. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store or find them online at boostmobile.com. The Boost Mobile network, together with their roaming partners, covers 99% of the U.S. population. 5G speeds not available in all areas.
Instacart is on a mission to have you not leave the couch this basketball season. Because between the pregame rituals and the postgame interviews, it can be difficult to find time for everything else. So let Instacart take care of your game day snacks or weekly restocks and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Because we hear it's bad luck to be hungry on game day. So download the Instacart app today and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days, excludes restaurants.
Welcome to It Takes Energy, presented by Energy Transfer, where we talk all things oil and natural gas. Oil and gas drive our economy, ensure our country's security, and open pathways to brighter futures. The U.S. produces 13 million barrels of crude oil every day, enough to fill 800 Olympic swimming pools. But what is that oil used for? The gas we put in our cars is just the beginning. Nearly 50% of each barrel is refined into gasoline. Another 34% is refined into fuels like diesel and jet fuel. And the rest is used to make more than 96% of our everyday essentials, like the tennis shoes you wear, the cell phone you rely on, and medicines that help save lives. Look around, and you'll see the essential role oil and gas plays in our modern lives. Our world needs oil and gas, and people rely on us to deliver it. To learn more, visit ittakes.energy.com.
Take me into the nuts and bolts of actually like planning it, because I think that was, to me, the most compelling part. Like putting together the exhibition, it was so glorious and majestic and really was its own thing. But the sort of blood, sweat, and tears comes in trying to, I would imagine, satisfy and cater to every big name in the world. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, in watching it again, that's where I felt the most sort of dramatic tension. And so can you just sort of walk me through, if you remember that particular gala or any particular gala, like you were sort of the face of all of that, right? You were always the one having to say no or to sort of massage those things. I remember after a certain period of time, it became kind of old hat to you. Like I remember your first year or two, you were just like, I can't do this.
Mess. I was like a puddle on the floor.
It was so stressful. I mean, it was like you going up against the heaviest hitters in the world. And so just talk me through that sort of process, if you can remember.
The reason it is at the level it's at and the reason people want to come is because we say no, right? We have I keep using we. I don't work there anymore for all those listening. But, Anna is very good at saying no and making sure that like everything is aligned with the vision, right? The brand, the guests, the tablecloth, everything to like the fork, right, is part of her vision and it has to be just right. She's incredibly detail oriented. That's why it's so magical. And she's incredibly creative and like she loves a performance. She's a huge theater buff. She loves entertainment. Baz is her sort of right hand because he sees the world in the way that she sees the world, which is this like grand production at all times. And that is just who she is. And when you go to the gala, like it's an experience, right? It's not just a dinner. Like we've all been to a million galas where it's like dinner and here's your steak and here's your wine and 4 people are going to speak. Nobody speaks. There's like really no remarks, and that's intentional. And I try to bring that, by the way, to every board I am on. I'm like, nobody should speak. Nobody wants to listen to you. And it's an incredible entertainer. It's always a surprise. There's always some immersive experience. And so because of all that, you have to say no to things, right? Because otherwise you kind of jeopardize its uniqueness and the specialness of it. But yeah, as like a 28-year-old and my first gala, I was like, this is so hard. I'm talking to the president of Chanel and, or whomever, and they want, and maybe this is not Chanel, but every major brand is theirs. It's Dolce & Gabbana, it's Michael Kors, it's Prada, it's Chanel, it's Dior, and all of them are spending a lot of money for a table and they want certain things. They want, they all want what they want. And if we let them all have what they want, then it wouldn't be the same event, right? So for example, we didn't let anyone bring in their managers, right? No PR people, no managers, no security. Like Anna really wanted it to be a dinner where people felt safe, celebrities felt safe, that people weren't like, taking photos, they take your phone away. It's just, she wanted to create this environment that felt really safe, really comfortable, like you're having a dinner party, right?
Well, just to that point, Sil, to like get a little bit more specific, you would always, Ted and I would always come and sit at your table. And I just remember year after year, it was like the greatest college party ever, or like the greatest high school party ever. And I remember one year I was like at your table and behind me was Selena, Taylor Swift, and Hallie Steinfeld. Mm-hmm. And Selena had just seen Justin.
Oh yeah.
And they were like freaking gossiping like you wouldn't believe. Yeah. And they're like, did you see who he's with? Oh my God, girl. Like, yeah. And they were like getting into it. And I was like, I can't believe I'm hearing this. And they were like screaming and Selena was like upset and Taylor's like, just don't worry about it, And I was just like, this is happening at every table because like there's not environments like that. There's not those safe environments. Yeah. And so people are constantly walking around and like chatting and gossiping and drinking. And it's just like, it was such a unique thing.
It really is. And it's not just celebrities, it's every kind of, maker from every world, right? Whether it's tech, whether it's business, whether it's it's
politicians and artists and musicians and athletes.
Yeah.
And so you see people that are fanning other people are not even, it just feels like a level playing field all of a sudden. And so when I would go with you, I almost felt like such a freedom because it was so absurd. And so I would always just feel like this is so fun because everyone's just having so much fun. Yeah. And meanwhile, you were just like, you were the host navigating it all. I remember the year that Madonna came And you and like Phoebe and like 7 other girls were like, all right, guys, we're all going up to the stairs and stand up here. And it was just like, it was like a party at your house. And you're like, no, you have to stand up here. So when she appears and walks down the steps, it'll be a surprise, you know?
Yeah.
Do you remember any of those moments, or are they all just a blur?
No, I remember all of them. I mean, there's so many good moments, so many crazy moments. But yeah, I mean, that I'm sure felt very like unscripted to you, but like we knew exactly where people needed to stand and at what time, and like, you know, like that is all thought through by Anna. I mean, we walked through that thing that night like 1 million times before it actually happens.
And it sort of felt like, it was like, well, guys, let's go stand up on the balcony and then maybe something will happen. And I remember looking across the balcony. Somehow Ted and I got separated, and he's across the balcony and he's like pushing Katy Perry aside because he's trying to get a picture of Madonna.
Yeah.
And he did, because she had dyed her hair blonde.
Yeah.
He didn't know who she was. And that was just the nature of like the whole thing.
Yeah, like Katy Perry was like pushing to get a good spot.
Tell me some of your pointed memories.
One of my favorite memories, was this my first one, was when Oprah hosted, and Lady Gaga was the act, and she wouldn't come out of her dressing room. And so as I mentioned, yeah, she was, you know, as I mentioned, like this is very timed, right? Like the other thing Anna doesn't like is a long dinner or a long anything. Like she wants people in and out, you know, and also like people are waiting. They're anticipating the show. And so for whatever reason, she was with her dancers and she wasn't ready to come out, and like people were waiting, and we ran out of wine, which has never happened and will never happen again because the wait was so long and everyone was just drinking. And so I am losing my shit. I'm like, what? I'm going to be fired. Like, where is she? And I'm talking to Tom Campbell, who was the director at the time of the museum. And Anna's like, where is she? We have to get her out here. And so it's like me, Oprah, and Tom, and Anna, and we're like pacing, and I'm like losing my mind. And Oprah's like, let's go. Well, let's go get her. And so she and I walk to her dressing room.
You and Oprah walked to Gaga's dressing room.
Yes.
Dude,
and
I forgot.
We walk to her dressing room, and she's like knocking on the door, and they won't let her in. And I'm like, it's Sylvana. And they're like, who cares? And she's like, it's Oprah. Let me in. And like the door opens and she like shuffles through, and I was like, okay, I'll stay here. I'll be right here. And like,
I'm not going to be effective in this moment. But.
I'm like, I get it. You don't want me in there. I get it. And they walk in, and like, sure enough, 5 minutes later, she comes out with Gaga, and they're holding hands, and she walks her to the stage. And Oprah told me later, she's like, I went in, and I was in her like prayer circle, and they all said a prayer together, her and her dancers with Oprah. And Oprah's like, and now you have to come. And like, just like brought her in, and like, she did her performance. But like, literally, I remember walking by Graydon Carter, who was at the time the editor-in-chief of Vanity Fair, and him being like,
so that's why Oprah's Oprah.
She's just,
because she just gets
like,
shit done.
Can move mountains, that woman. I mean,
oh my God, can you imagine how much easier life would be? Okay, that is so brilliant. That is so brilliant. Do we ever know why Gaga was holding up?
No, we never know.
Okay, and we didn't need to know.
Yeah, she has her own timeline. You know,
things got executed. I remember the one time that so you were, you know, at Vogue when I produced this movie, Beasts of No Nation. Yeah. And so you got Anna, we orchestrated this whole thing where Edward Norton was involved with my movie somehow. Mm-hmm. And Anna, you were like trying to get Anna to host. We were trying to get them to co-host. Mm-hmm. And so at the Signature Theater, do you remember this? Because Edward was like a trustee at Signature Theater. Mm-hmm. And so we orchestrated this whole thing to get them on a call or email together. And it took like hours and hours of like orchestration in order for Edward to be like, Anna, would you consider hosting at the Signature Theater, the Beasts of No Nation? And so she did it. And so she arrives to the Beasts of No Nation thing, and Idris is not there. He was going to come at the end.
Yes.
And Anna gets there, and she's like, he needs to introduce it. And he was like across town. So the one thing you had told me is like, if she speaks to you directly with a question, just tell her the truth. She does not like a lie. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. And so she goes, how far away is he? And I was like, Anna, I'm not going to lie to you. he's 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
And she's like, and she smiled in the moment because it was like she didn't want to lie, but she was also so pissed.
Yeah.
But she made him come back. Like there was no other person that was going to get him to turn around in the car and get him to come back. And that was the thing. And then the thing went off without a hitch, and it was like the absolute right thing that happened.
She's brilliant. And she's brilliant. She is also a person who moves mountains. I mean, she can get on the phone with any single person in this world. And
I'm sure she withholds that power. Like you can't always be available or else that power doesn't work. Yeah. And that's like something I'm always trying to remind myself, like, don't be so available because then you're not special.
Exactly.
You know?
I'm working on that too.
Yeah. Like just don't pick up the phone every 5 seconds, you know? But okay, so that Oprah thing is so. Tell me just like one or two other like gems that you remember from because it really is so evocative of like what you went through.
Well, there was one year, you know, my favorite thing was to seat my table because it ended up being like a conglomeration of every show I'd watched that season
that you happened to be a fan of.
Yes. Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, I definitely want him seated next to me. And particularly like attractive men. And Adam would always like laugh and he'd be like, who's the lucky guy this time?
Who's the lucky bachelor this year?
And so, you know, I was particularly into Arrested Development. And so like I wanted Jason Bateman at the table. And so like I was like, let's just do like a comedy table. It's going to be great. And I was friendly with Alexi, Seth Meyers, who's now, they're very dear friends of ours, but I was friendly with them. So I was like, we'll just like curate this table. And like, I seated it like very sort of, you know, intentionally. And it was like Amy Poehler and Will Arnett. It was Jason and Amanda and his wife and Seth and Alexi. And then, you know, I scattered in a designer, Alex Wang, who I love.
Yeah.
And it was me and Anna and a few other, and maybe you guys.
Me and Ted.
And so obviously, you know, you never like in the world of Anna, and basically if you put yourself next to your husband, like you're dead to Anna. Like you cannot sit next to your spouse. Like it's just not, it's provincial.
It's a rule. Yes, totally.
And so
FYI, loyal listeners, this is a note from Anna Wintour. Do not sit next to your husband at a dinner party.
The only way you're excused is in the first year of marriage. That's the only time you're excused.
Okay, good to know. Just a little side note.
So in any case, so I had mixed it up and I was like, oh, these people Adam's going to get along great with like Amy Poehler and all these.
You put me next to Bateman, by the way. Yeah. Best night ever.
Yeah, I had
so fun.
I was on his other side and Seth was on my other side. So anyway, so you know, I seat the entire thing, right? Me and Anna literally with a fine-tooth comb. I know where every single human in that room is seated. And there's a reason, right? And Anna's like incredibly prescriptive about this. So we sit down. No, rather, I come to the table and we're about to sit and I see Jason's wife like moving the place cards. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I'm stunned.
Oh, wait. Amanda was moving the place cards?
Because they wanted to sit next to each other. Because like, I'm sure for, you know, sorry if he and his wife are listening, but like, I'm sure they're like, I don't know who Sylvana is. Like, why would I sit next to her? Like I would, you know, like for them, it's like, I don't want to have like a shitty time tonight. I want to just sit next to people I know.
Okay, because my memory is Poehler was moving the cards.
Oh, maybe it was Poehler.
In my memory, it was Poehler, like moving the cards, and she wanted to sit next to Will. Yes.
But also, I think Amanda did too. I think, anyway, they ended up sitting next to her.
They were doing it together. They were buddies.
And I was like furious, but I also wasn't about to say anything. Until I said something to Jason and what did he said something to you, right? And he was like, well, I didn't realize like the producer of the Met Gala was the person that she was switching me. But like I just remember being like,
oh, you were supposed to sit next to Bateman.
Yes. You were on the other side. But I was on the other side.
Oh. I ended up sitting next to Bateman and Seth Meyers and having like the greatest night only through the mishap of them switching the cards.
And then that makes they so all, much more sense. Here's the like the dirty little secret. They all just wanted to talk to each other. They wouldn't talk to any of us.
I know.
And we were like, hi, like fangirling it on the other side of the table. And they're like, why are we, I don't understand this table. So it was not like the vision of us all being best friends that I thought it might be.
Instacart is on a mission to have you not leave the couch this basketball season. Because between the pre-game rituals and the post-game interviews, it can be difficult to find time for everything else. So let Instacart take care of your game day snacks or weekly restocks and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Because we hear it's bad luck to be hungry on game day. So download the Instacart app today and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days, excludes restaurants.
NetCredit is here to say yes, because you're more than a credit score. Apply in minutes and get a decision as soon as the same day. Loans offered by NetCredit or lending partner banks and serviced by NetCredit. Application subject to review and approval. Learn more at netcredit.com/partners. NetCredit. Credit to the people.
Many people have a superficial understanding of fashion. People underestimate the power of clothes to tell stories or to speak to people.
I've told this story on the pod. You're working that night and I'm just getting drunk that night. And so I was your guest for 7 years in a row. Do you remember the night that I fell back on the wood floor?
Yes, I do.
And Beyonce and Jay-Z picked me up.
That was at the after party, though.
It was at the after party. It wasn't at the Met Gala.
Louisana had to pick you up.
No. Jay-Z and Beyonce picked me up. So
right.
And then I crawled back to the bar to get another drink and sat next to Emma Stone because I had very important work to discuss with her and I couldn't speak. And then you and Liz Banks had to drag me by my armpits away from her. I'm surprised I still have a career. Okay. So talk to me about getting Rihanna. I remember that being a very, very intricate negotiation of who you were flying, who you were paying for, how many dancers. I mean, it becomes a very serious budgetary conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's expensive, right? This is, and the museum is a not-for-profit, organization. This is not, there's not just an unlimited budget. And so, it's very, but as a performer, you're it's the Met Gala. We can, we want this to be big.
Endless. Yeah.
And so,
totally.
And also Anna wants all these things, but Anna doesn't love to she doesn't want to be in the details of the budget. She's just make it happen for less. And you're well, that's impossible. So
she wants it to be a spectacle, but she doesn't want to. Yeah, of course. I don't want to know the line items.
She has a vision. And so you have to, there's no, right? There's no such thing as no. So it's really my job, or it was my job to manage that. I mean, there was no really going to her and being in that situation, I actually did have to go to her and say, you have to call her manager and be we need to bring this down. This is a lot. And so, it's just, there's a ton of back and forth. There's a lot of yelling. There's a lot of people who are disappointed and angry at you. Everyone wants to be there. And so when you have to say no to someone, or if it's so stressful. So stressful.
It's so stressful. It's so funny. I used to sit with managers all the time and I'd be yeah, I'm going to the Met Ball next week or whatever, and they'd be how did you get in? It was always I've been trying to get Hayden Panettiere in for 6 years, or whatever it was, because that was just most people were just not, we're not getting a ticket, you know?
Yeah.
And the other thing is these actors have to be paired up with a table, right?
Because there's no free seats. The designer. So effectively what happens is, we'll help them we'll connect them with a Prada or whomever it is. And most of the time these tables have their own ambassadors, right? Penelope Cruz comes with Chanel and, they all have contracts with these people, with these brands rather. And so, our job is sort of the smaller guys, the up and comers, the people that are less known, but we think are really awesome and cool. And that's sort of our job to get them connected with the right people and start that relationship. And, so many relationships and so much networking goes on that night too. There are people who sign their book deals with it's just a ton of that, there are so many stories where somebody will say, I met Taylor at the Met and now we're best friends. It's that sort of thing.
Okay. So Sil, back to the making of the film.
Yes. You've
sort of taken us through the actual night of the Met Gala, which is so extraordinary. you at that point, it seems like you've gotten all the footage for the film.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about like the editing process, putting it together, selling it. Like, do you remember any of that stuff?
So Fabiola Baracasa was our like producing partner on this. Like and now I'm remembering she had a deal with what was it Relativity, but she and I and Andrew were very, very much involved in the editing process, which was so new for me. And I remember you came and you gave notes and everything. And, we went through so many iterations and, it was too long and we wanted it to be, it was a lot. There was so much footage. And to your point, there was like this tension because like most people just wanted to see the party. And so it was like this tension of like, how do you make it all compelling, right? Because it's such an incredible exhibition. And it is, and I think what we did a great job of is sort of explaining to sort of the layman why fashion really is an art, right? It is not. I think there's all Harold Coda says it's like this perennial debate around is fashion art, and I think we make the case for that pretty well. But yeah, the editing process was long, and Anna has many opinions, but in the end, I think we were all really proud of. We were at Tribeca. We opened Tribeca,
which is in May or used to be in May.
Yeah.
And so it was sort of in conjunction with like the year after, I think.
Yes, that's correct.
Right?
It was the year after.
And I think you guys maybe Tribeca opened it and then you went into theatrical release.
We were in theatrical release. Like I remember it was in Brooklyn at my neighborhood theater and I like took a selfie. It was so cool. I really loved the whole process. Producing is really hard, as you know. And, I also had a day job. So it was so interesting, and it was such a great release of creative energy. And the editing process, I think, is so cool because you get the chills when you're watching, certain cuts, and like the magic that is made in that process from like a very bland piece of content sometimes is incredible.
Now, Andrew Rossi, he was a filmmaker. How did you guys find him? We didn't even cover that.
He had done Page One, the New York Times doc.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
We talked to a bunch of people, and we really liked Page One. And what Anna wanted really, like from the get-go, was like a one-man team. She did not want a full camera crew. She did not want like a huge production because she wanted it to feel really like fly on the wall. On top of which, shooting at the Met and getting in like an entire crew, like it's impossible. All of the red tape you have to go through, and really, it's just like it's more expensive. And so, for the most part, we wanted somebody who could also shoot, and most documentary filmmakers can, obviously. And so he was filming a lot. Like it was just him and like a boom. And so that's what we kind of liked about it. It felt like very much fly on the wall, and was his style. And so that really determined kind of.
So really, there was just one camera following you guys around at all times?
Certain sequences, like at the Met Gala, there was more. There was probably we only like approved 4 though. He wanted like 12. So like they all had to like switch locations, and she didn't want them seen. That was the other thing. She like didn't want people to know that they were there because they look unattractive and it's like funky and But yeah, I mean, for the most part, we really tried to keep his team super, super small.
I would consider this, just looking back, I think like you accomplished the goal, which is like raising a very convincing argument that fashion is indeed art and maybe one of the highest art forms that exists. Like truly, when you think of like all that goes into creating these like couture events, really, I think it really did such a good job of that. I would say like, Syl, for you personally, that experience, that to memorialize your life back then, I would just say you should go watch it again, because I think you really were kind of like the joy of that piece. Like you were the humor and the heart and the backbone. And of course it's about Anna Wintour and her process and the world she's created and all those things. But you were just this like incredible person that was making it all happen and doing it so humbly. And so I was just so deeply impressed by you and like watching it again. It was so like, not to get sappy, but I just love you so much. I'm so
felt
proud
like
of
I
you.
was in it for like a second, but thanks.
No. And then I like you did that New York Post article. It was like, who's the breakout star of First Monday in May? And there was like this 3-page article on Syl. And I for whatever reason, I was just like very open with this writer, and I told this story about how you were always so precocious.
Oh my God. I'm trying to remember.
And how you had that party in high school.
Oh my God. That's right. You put that in the freaking post.
You guys, my mom was away in New York doing a play or like maybe Texas Walker or Texas Ranger. We don't know. She was not home, and so was a junior or senior in high school. And she had like this big group of friends, and she would host parties. And these idiot boys at one point, like Sil hosted a party that got out of control, and they rolled one of my mom's 300-pound terracotta planters that had a bougainvillea in it into the pool. And it totally destroyed the bottom of swamped the pool and then like cracked the bottom. Mm-hmm. And Sylvanitz made a deal with the pool man to like drain it and like get it fixed, and thought it was just a handshake deal. Like he was just a good dude who was just going to like do it under wraps. She's like, this is just between you and me, right?
Yep.
And then like my mom gets served with like the most ridiculous bill when she gets home. And then so was like
grounded. I was always grounded though. I was grounded for like every prom.
You were grounded for the prom. And I just started dating Ted, and like the fights, because she made you come home right after prom. You couldn't go to the after party. And you were crying so much. You were so mad. It was the best.
I can't believe she went. I would never do that to my child, by the way. Oh my God.
Ground them from their prom.
Like what? It happens twice in your life if you're lucky. Like
still. But so many party stories. You were just always so bad. But the point is, like, you have taken so many things you learned from that time in your life into your world now. Wouldn't you say that's true?
Yes. I mean, the fundraising piece is all I do now. But yes, all of it. Like Anna was like my business school, you know, it was very much the sort of the mentor, the example, the bar, like all of that was her for me. And so I think about it all the time. I think about it when I'm mentoring my own employees. I think about it when I'm setting a dinner table or, you know, having a party or anything. You know, it's very applicable. And I think she's, you know, just so good at what she does. So it's a good teacher to have.
But that thing that like everything matters.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, I'm working with Hallie Myers-Shire right now, who is the daughter of Nancy Myers. And like there is that same attention to detail in her filmmaking that her mother had. And I would say like when I attend a dinner that you're hosting, there is that level of detail that I saw in that documentary, which it's like details matter, like care matters, lighting matters, music matters.
Totally.
Who you sit next to at a dinner matters. It's like, it's all like, it looks flawless, but it's all thoughtful, right? And then it's because of those details that like great things happen, right? Like great things happen when you see, you know, Bono next to Mike Bloomberg or whatever, you know, who knows what that is, you know? And I think in your way, you've really carried that on into your life. And that's why you have like such a great collection of people around you. And so that was my observation.
It's like a real good feel good type of session. Like you're like, I'm going to come on this podcast all the time. I feel great about myself. I'm very
So we really yuck it up here. You're like taking it very seriously, but I'm wanting you to like really just tell the stories about being drunk.
I know. I can tell.
You're like, I thought this was like a professional experience. Like we'll edit all the stuff out, but
what
also
stories about me being drunk?
No, both of us. That's what I do on this podcast. I'm
real.
Like
it's real.
It's real, dude. It's real.
I'm hungover right now, so that's great. And I had a dinner party last night where the details were shit, and I'm never using this one caterer again.
But so, was it good in the end?
It was good. It's always good energy, but I just was pissed. I was like making people drinks myself. I was like,
oh no. To bring it full circle, though, you just like had an important dinner party last night where you probably had to like you had to be social, but also talk business and also, you know, right?
Yeah.
And like bring everything together.
And make drinks.
What kind of drinks did you make?
I mean, I was making whatever anyone needed because nobody else was doing it. So even though I was paying for someone to do it.
Well, I love you so much.
I love you too. I'm going to go back to sleep now.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Thank you. You're the best.
Love you. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Vanessa, I have to hear your thoughts because like dialogue between sisters is just, it is what it is. I can't tell if, was that entertaining? Was that not entertaining? I mean, I loved hearing about the whole process, but I love her anyways, you know?
I feel like I listened into a phone call between you guys and it felt like a private conversation. But it was great. It's funny because I remember when that documentary came out and it was such a big deal at the time because I think no one really knew the behind the scenes. I think Vogue had done a couple of things where they had like a TV show and like Lauren Conrad was an intern once. Things like that. But this felt like the first time we really saw behind the curtain of the Met Gala. And I remember it just felt so important at the time. And it's pretty unbelievable that she had such a behind the scenes, like even just hear the Oprah story and like hearing about how involved Anna was in just seating people and how people weren't allowed to sit next to their spouses. I just thought that was fascinating.
Oh yeah, like, she did. Actually, now that you're mentioning it, she did really spill the scoop.
She spilled the scoop. It felt personal.
Yeah.
I was like, should we be releasing this episode?
Well, it's so funny because, you know, she's my younger sister. I'm so proud of her. She's a real woman about town. You know, she's always on all these like best dressed lists and all this stuff. But she is such a hard worker. And at the end of the day, that is what allowed her to be so successful alongside Anna. And she learned so much from Anna, but my sister is a badass. You know, like I don't think everyone is built to handle those situations and those personalities. And she never would like come home and complain about it. She would just get through it. And so actually getting scoop out of my sister is hard because she sort of just forgets about it and keeps moving on. And I'm like, what's the Rihanna scoop? And she's like, I don't know. It's like, leave it at work, you know? And I always want to know. I want to know more. I want to know about Gaga, you know?
Yeah. I do think those are the people that are most successful in creative industries are the ones that are not like the celebrity people, but just like care about the work and are really excited to put on a show.
Totally.
And that is kind of what it felt like for her. Like she's just like, okay, Beyonce's here. We got to put her there. Jay-Z, we got to put him here. It's like, I'd be like, wait, but what was the conversation like?
Totally. Oh, it's like, it's like being best friends with a dude, you know, like sometimes dudes, they're just like getting through and they don't want to like kvetch. And I'm just like, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it at least for an hour the next morning. And she's just the worst about that. So this was a nice opportunity for me to like get her to talk about those things. I'm not sure I'd ever heard that Oprah Gaga story before. Truly.
No, I mean, it was so good. And I was like, I feel like we're really hearing some really private stuff. It was amazing, but also incredible. Like, I love to hear that Oprah is inspiring and just does that naturally.
Me
so cool.
too. Me too. She just went and made it happen and got Gaga on that stage. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it so much.
Because also if you're just watching, you know, or looking at like page 6 or seeing pictures of the Met Gala the next morning, like I could not be less of an insider in that situation. Yeah. You're just like, oh, Ariana Grande just went up and performed and that was what happened. And here are some pictures and you don't realize how much of an event this is.
It's wild. It's so wild. It's some of the most fun nights ever. All right. Well, that was so fun. Thanks for walking down memory lane with me on that one. And let's do the wrap up.
All right, guys, follow us on Instagram at Hollywood Gold Pod. Go on our website to get some merch, staygoldfeatures.com, and click the merch tab. Also, subscribe and like us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, and keep listening, guys. Stay gold.
Nailed it. You're really in your flow. All right, babes.
I know. Should we do another one?
Stay gold, guys.
Under Biden, Americans' cost of living skyrocketed. Food, housing, auto insurance. Lawsuit abuse is a big reason everything's more expensive today. Frivolous lawsuits cost working Americans over $4,000 a year in hidden taxes. President Trump understands the problem. That's why he supports loser pays legislation to stop lawsuit abuse and put thousands back in the pockets of hardworking Americans. It's time to make America affordable again. It's time to support the president's plan.
Welcome to It Takes Energy, presented by Energy Transfer, where we talk all things oil and natural gas. Oil and gas drive our economy, ensure our country's security, and open pathways to brighter futures. The U.S. produces 13 million barrels of crude oil every day, enough to fill 800 Olympic swimming pools. But what is that oil used for? The gas we put in our cars is just the beginning. Nearly 50% of each barrel is refined into gasoline. Another 34% is refined into fuels like diesel and jet fuel, and the rest is used to make more than 96% of our everyday essentials, like the tennis shoes you wear, the cell phone you rely on, and medicines that help save lives. Look around, and you'll see the essential role oil and gas plays in our modern lives. Our world needs oil and gas, and people rely on us to deliver it. To learn more, visit ittakes.energy.com.